Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Mackie. It is officially October, and obviously it's the best time of the year, but also the most crazy and most hectic for Amanda and I. And I decided to make it even more crazy and hectic by posting videos on my channel too. This is going to be called MACTOBER. There's a giant mosquito. If you're squeamish, don't look at this. I just caught that mosquito and killed it. Get off me. Oh my god. This is not off to a good start. That mosquito definitely just bit me somewhere. There's another one. I don't know where he just bit me, but he definitely got me, and that was definitely my blood inside of him. Okay, fun fact, he's sitting on the table. Fun fact, I'm completely fine with blood and gore. I actually did get my EMT license. I was going to be a paramedic, but then stuff happened, so I didn't do it. But I love blood and gore and all that stuff, but anything like that, like blood, when I squish a mosquito and if there's blood in it, I just can't handle it for some reason. Moral of the story, I'm not squeamish, but blood inside a mosquito, Anyway, let's get back to the point of this video. We are going to be having MACTOBER this year, and I honestly hate that name so much, but I don't know what else to call this. Someone suggested it, so we're going with it. I rarely post on my channel now just because I'm so busy on the other channel, but for MACTOBER, I'm going to be posting at least a minimum of 6 videos this month. I don't know exactly what they're all going to be right now, but we'll figure it out along the way. For episode, also, just ignore this. I know I'm pointing it out. That's gross too. I know I'm pointing it out, but that's because everyone's gonna ask, what happened here? That is disgusting. I have some other videos filmed and the black eye is in it, so just ignore it. And my hair is all salty, and this video is already starting to get bad because there's noises in here. But pretty much how this is going to work. Also, this is... But basically, my hair is all salty. But in episode 1 of MACTOBER, we are going to be discussing the 5 things you shouldn't be doing in your house if it's haunted. And these are things that I've had to learn the hard way, and most of them are things that I learned on my own that I've noticed trigger the paranormal activity to start. And a lot of times, like all growing up, it was bad activity that would start, so it wasn't something I wanted to trigger. So I kind of learned what those things are, and then I come to find out they're actual real things. So a lot of people comment on our videos asking for help in their haunted house, and they say they don't know what to do, and obviously we can't come to your house and help you because there's so many of you, but at least I can give you some tips on what not to do to make it worse. Also, we have some very exciting news. The Spooktober merch is now live on our website. All you have to do is type in thespookyboos.com, or you can type in mackieandamanda.com and it'll take you to the same place, and you can purchase some of this year's exclusive Spooktober merch, and it's very limited, so make sure you get it while you can. It just released. We have 3 awesome designs. We may or may not have one more design coming in a couple weeks. So those brace 100% a shadow in the reflection, 1,000,000%. In the meantime, make sure you go check out the other merch we have listed because it is seriously super sick. All right, trigger number 1. There's another mosquito. Are you fucking me? So let's get straight into trigger number 1. All right, this is probably a very obvious one, but I have to state it because this is one of the main things that made the haunting in my house so bad for a long time, and that is another shadow passing by in the reflection, the use of a Ouija board. Now, this may seem obvious to a lot of people, but I can't be more serious when I tell you that they are 100% real in the way that you're reaching out to the spirit world asking for communication. And so when you're doing that, for some reason, most of the time, the spirits that are going to come through are negative ones. And I don't know why it's the Ouija board specifically that does this. Well, it's actually any device. Anytime you're calling out to things, inviting them in, negative entities will take that chance, but it just seems like the Ouija board brings nothing but bad things. That is what personally made my house really bad, and the things that were happening to me were terrifying. It's basically, a lot of people say there's no way it's real. You can walk into Toys R Us when Toys R Us was around and buy one, so how bad can it be? It's not about where it comes from. It's not about if it's a toy. You could take a piece of cardboard and write out the alphabet on there, and that would be just as effective as the ones at Toys R Us. It doesn't matter where it's from, what it's made on. That's you setting up a line of communication, reaching out and inviting things in that you don't want to invite in. So if your house isn't haunted and you use a Ouija board, you have the chance of making your house haunted by inviting these things in. And if your house is already haunted, you definitely do not want to use these things, because whatever spirit's haunting your house in that moment, they're going to take that opportunity in a split second to communicate with you and make that physical contact. So I don't recommend Ouija boards in general, but especially if you have a haunted house, stay away from these. Trigger number 2. And these are in no particular order, but this is another really big one that created a lot of negativity in my house amongst the spirits, and just really heavy bad things manifested from this. And that is anger, yelling, fighting, or arguing in any way, or any type of outward expression of a negative emotion is what these things feed on, specifically the negative entities. That is literally their energy source. So anytime you're doing that, or a family member is doing that, or a friend is doing that in your home that's already haunted, if it's a negative entity haunting your house, they're going to suck up that negative energy, and it's going to manifest itself. This doesn't have to be a physical manifestation. This could honestly just mean making you or whoever else is in the house fighting more angry, more irrational, and just honestly tear apart relationships and make everything really negative in your home. And it's like a vicious cycle where you're fighting, this negative entity is sucking up the negative energy, they're getting stronger, so they're making you or your family members react in different ways that you wouldn't normally do, so that way you fight more and it can suck up more energy and get stronger. So it's like a vicious cycle, and you can really get in a dark place because of that. It can make things really bad if you're living in a haunted house. And so there was a lot of that growing up in my family, and this happened a lot in specific rooms, and those are the rooms that are the most haunted in my house to this day. And those are the rooms that felt the most negative in general. Because even if there's no spirits in your house and you're putting out that negative energy, everything around you is going to be absorbing that energy. The walls, the wood tables, so that energy is going to be stored there, and it's going to have a more heavy feeling in that room. It's called energy imprinting. So rooms that are heavily imprinted by negative energy, those are perfect dwelling places for negative spirits. There are times in my family where the fighting would be really bad and the activity would be really bad and people would be acting irrational. So it's just a vicious cycle. And again, even if you don't even have a spirit in your house and there's constant fighting and arguing going on, you're putting that energy out there, and that's how poltergeists form, is from that energy. So you can create your own entities, basically. And poltergeists are the ones that physically move items, and they're the ones who can cause a lot of harm within families. that is something you don't want to do. If you notice that you or a family member starts getting triggered and angry in a certain room often, and you don't know why this is happening in this room, and then say you walk out of the room and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I don't know why that affected me so much. That's not even a big deal. There could be something in there, such as a poltergeist or something, making you or your family member feel that way. So if you think you're living in this type of situation, next time you walk into a room and you're irrationally angry for no reason, try reminding yourself, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to walk outside the house and see if I still feel this way. And if you no longer feel that anger, consider cleansing or just being more aware of it, because the less reactive you are, these entities aren't going to have anything to feed on, and eventually they will go away. So keep that in mind. Trigger number 3. This is one we get a question about all the time. Not even questions. We get concerns, we get statements, we get all types of comments regarding this topic. And that is the comment of, I started watching your guys' video and all of a sudden I started experiencing paranormal activity in my home. Could whatever entity you're dealing with be coming through the screen into my house? That is a yes and no question. So pretty much how it works is, when you're watching one of our videos and say we're in the Bay Theater, if something really negative is happening in our video and all of a sudden you hear a knock on your wall or you hear something move in your house or you see a shadow, it's not whatever we're dealing with. It's not the spirit that we're dealing with in that moment. But it's almost the same as the Ouija. There goes the mosquito. It's almost the same as the Ouija board, where since you may already be living in a haunted house, you pull up a video of paranormal activity happening and you're opening up your mind to that paranormal activity. By watching our video, you're opening up yourself to the paranormal. And anytime you're opening yourself up to that, spirits are going to take that opportunity, whether it's good or bad. Whether it's good or bad, that's an opportunity for them to make themselves known, just because you're thinking about it. And that's just how these things work. The more open you are to it, the more things are going to happen to you. So no, you're not experiencing the spirit we're experiencing in that moment. You're experiencing whatever spirit's haunting your house. So just keep that in mind. I don't recommend even watching Ouija board videos, because for me, I had the same concern as a lot of you guys years ago when I was in my room that's very haunted. Is right when I started watching YouTube and a video popped up of someone using a Ouija board, and I clicked on it, and within 5 minutes everything went to shit. The next 2 weeks was the worst activity I've ever had in my house. It was the most negative activity and scariest I've ever had in my entire life. And it lasted 2 weeks. And it started the second I started watching that Ouija board video. I had the exact same question of, oh my gosh, is this demon from me watching the video? And no, it was not. It was from me opening myself up to that type of darkness and allowing my mind to go there. And whatever was in my house took that opportunity to feast on my fear, pretty much. And so that's why we don't even use Ouija boards in our videos. We don't deal with those type of entities. We don't do anything dark, because it's dangerous for us and it's dangerous for you guys. So I don't recommend even watching anything related to that type of stuff, because it's not good. But don't be scared. Don't stop watching our videos. Don't worry, don't stress too much about it, because 98% of the people watching our videos aren't going to experience anything in their homes. This is more targeted, like I said, for the people who are already living in haunted environments. This is a possibility, but even if you're sitting there thinking about anything paranormal, the same thing could happen. So that is a possibility, though. If you're living in somewhere that is negatively haunted, I'd say stay away from any paranormal videos that have anything to do with mosquitoes, anything to do with negative entities. Trigger number 4. Trigger number 4, and this is a really big one for my house specifically, and it's something completely out of all of our control, and that is the full moon. 100% of the time. crazy activity starts happening when there's a full moon. And this happens a couple days before the moon and a couple days after. And it is so, I 100% know every time the full moon's approaching, that stuff's gonna go down. And most of the time, this is footsteps, seeing shadows out of the corner of my eye, hearing knocks, feeling like someone's there, hearing whispers. The full moon was literally last night. I just heard one right now. It was last night. I was in the bathroom on the phone with Amanda on FaceTime, and I was just cleaning my face off. I don't know why I just said that in such a weird way. I was cleaning my face, just like wiping it down with the cotton pad and just talking to Amanda on the phone. And all of a sudden, behind me, I hear, "Hey," so loud. And I interrupted Amanda, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's 100% someone here behind me." I just heard them whisper. And so we were on FaceTime. I flipped her around. I'm like, "Do you see anything?" And I start panning. She's like, "Yep, right there. They're right there." And it was the exact angle, and it was just the exact place I heard the "hey" come from. And she said it was a girl. She was shorter and skinny. And I said, "Okay." And we just moved on. But that is just an example. Things will happen to my mom also. It honestly sounds like there's just multiple other people living in my house, just walking through the hallways. Any type of paranormal activity that can happen pretty much happens, except physical items moving. That doesn't happen too much, like before my eyes, but I'll hear things move, and like literally through this entire video where I keep seeing stuff moving behind me. I'm just pretty much used to it by now. And that's because it's the full moon and I know what to expect, and I know that every time this is going to trigger spirits in my house. Most of the time it's all just positive things just passing through, I feel like. But it has to do with just the extra energy that's radiating off of the moon. All of us are controlled by the moon, whether we believe it or not. The majority of our body is made up of water. So if you know anything about ocean tides, you would know that when it's a full moon, the tide is super high and then it will drop super low. And that is because the moon controls the tides. It controls the water. So picture our bodies being the majority made up of water. If it can affect the ocean that much, why wouldn't it affect our bodies? And it's a proven fact. Even the word lunatic derives from the full moon, because on full moons, people are known to act like lunatics because it disrupts everything going on within you. Luna, moon, lunatic, that's where it comes from. If you work in a hospital or know someone who works in a hospital in the ER, they'll tell you the full moon is crazy. And so the spirits get a lot of their energy from this. So when there's so much power, so much energy radiating off of full moons, they just suck that right up, and it makes it easier for them to communicate, to make themselves known. And basically it cuts the veil, shrinks the veil down. So there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to deal with it and just know that most of the time these things are just passing through. But if you're trying to do a paranormal investigation, that's the best time of the month because things are a lot more responsive, because it's a lot easier for them. Moving on. Number 5, the final trigger that I have found. This one is so obvious, but I just have to say it because 100% of the time when I engage in this trigger, stuff happens instantly, and you guys know that from my videos, and that is simply talking about anything paranormal. Once again, it's just like the Ouija board. The second you open up your mind to it, most of the time, living in a haunted house, things are going to take that opportunity because you're opening up yourself to it. If you're trying to get something to happen and you talk about it, obviously you're reaching out to things saying, will you do this? Will you do that? They're much more likely to take that opportunity. But if you don't want this to happen, if you don't want the activity, don't talk about it inside the house. You can talk about it outside the house. That's what I used to do when I was really dealing with the negative entities here. If anyone tried to mention one word, I would cut them off right then and there and say, I'm not talking about this inside my house. They'd ask me about it and say, don't say one more word. I'm not talking about this within my house. And we could step outside and talk about it. That was fine. But I refuse to talk about it in there. And even if you do start talking about it or start thinking about it and stuff starts happening, this is the hardest part. You cannot be scared because they thrive, negative entities at least, they thrive on that fear. So you cannot be scared. The best thing to do if you do not want this activity is to just completely ignore it. Go about your normal life. If things are happening around you, don't even look up at it. I know it's hard, but you have to ignore it, and eventually things will simmer way down. Anytime you talk about it, these things are going to happen if you're living in a haunted house. Happens to me 100% of the time. As you guys heard the second we started this video, I was seeing things, you were hearing the knocks. It's just what happens. So don't do it. If you don't want the activity, that is. Some people want it. Sometimes I want it when we're filming videos here. So in the videos that we filmed here, obviously the activity that we catch in those videos, that's not happening 24/7. But the second I start talking about it and acknowledging them and reaching out, we're catching crazy things because they're here and they're waiting for that engagement with you. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Those are the 5 main triggers I have found. Oh, before we end, I want to say one thing. They are listening to you if you live in a haunted house. So if you want them to do something, literally just ask and talk as if you're talking to a normal person, because they are normal people. So just whatever you want from them, just ask. If you want them to stop bothering you, ask. If you want them to show themselves, not show themselves, but engage with you, ask. If they took something of yours and you can't find it, tell them to put it back. And most of the time, they're gonna put it back. It's gonna reappear out of thin air. Then they're done that. Those are the 5 main triggers that I have found living in this haunted house my entire life. So some people want it, some people don't want this activity. You can do with this video what you please, but those are just my triggers. I'm gonna give you one bonus one, and I know this sucks, but this is just how it is sometimes, and you don't have control of it. If you're living with a negative entity and you have a disease or a sickness of some type, they're going to feed off of that illness because you're weak at that time and you're an easy target. And a lot of times they'll make you worse. So you have to put an end to it. You have to realize what's going on and you have to help yourself. You can do multiple things to stop this cycle. Let me know if you want to see a video on the things that helped me when I was really dealing with bad Crohn's flare-ups and couldn't get out of bed. And I was having a lot of negative things happening in my room with the entity there. So I eventually found a way to put an end to it. And once I did, I was back to normal pretty much. So this is a real thing that they do. So you just have to be careful with that. Let me know if you want a video, but sickness, mental health struggles, anything like that, negative entities will feed on. So that is a trigger, unfortunately, because it is out of our control when these things are happening. So even when I'm dealing with like anxiety and stuff like that, if I'm in my home, I try not to let it affect me as much, just in case, because I have had negative experiences with bad entities here when I'm going through something heavy. Other than that, that's going to conclude the video for episode 1 of MACTOBER. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and stay tuned for other videos. In the meantime, go to me and Amanda's channel because we're doing crazy stuff this year. Spoiler alert, we are doing something we've never done before for our grand finale, where we're both going to the most haunted locations in the US. I'm on the West Coast, she's on the East Coast, and we're filming at the most haunted locations on each side of the country. And we'll be there alone and terrified, and it's going to be crazy. And that's going to be for Halloween. So you're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be really scary. We've never been alone. So yeah. But go check out our channel because you don't want to miss these things. Check out our merch. And other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.